More Nations Championship action this weekend, folks. Japan hosting France. Japan will be heading back from Australia. France also traveling from Australia, so both with a few air miles to do back up north. Remember, Japan are representing the Southern Hemisphere for this competition, and both sides are 1-1. Japan lost their most recent match to the Irish, but opened with a decent win over the Italians, and the French flip order. They lost the opener to the All Blacks and then ended up bouncing back pretty strong over the Aussies last week, with the bolstering with a few big gun players being back. We'll go through the squads which have been announced, some stats, predictions. You guys can let us know your thoughts. I am keen to see how the Japanese scrum goes, because I feel like against the Irish and against the Italians, they've done pretty bloody well. How will they go up against a pretty big French pack, which is also, been tested in recent times at scrum time, especially the tight head being a focus. For Japan, they have changed the front row. It is a different front row than one that started last week. They've brought in Otsuka, Eda, and Tamefusa, who were all bench guys last week, have now been promoted to the starting lineup. So it's not going to be kind of like for like in terms of seeing where Japan's scrum is at, but we'll at least get to see where the replacements stack up in the scheme of things. Hawkins and Dearns remains a large second row, both really tall bits of timber, and then Stolberg is on the bench. All these guys are huge units, 2+ meters tall, 120, 30 kilo guys. It is a big second row. Warner Dearns, if you don't watch any Japanese rugby, if you're a French fan who's tuning in for the first time for a wee while for a Japan video, he's an exceptional player. He's the captain of the side, played for the Hurricanes outstandingly well in the Super Rugby season. Just last week in the game against Ireland, he's their key man, top guy for carries, one of the top tacklers. He always leads the line-out disruption stats and scores tries, gets charges down, does a bit of everything. They've also brought in a couple of Aussie-connected players. There seem to be bloody Aussies all over the world, like the Japanese. The French have got a couple of guys with Aussie roots as well in their squad for this Nations Championship. But Haringa'a for Japan at number 6, he's going to be making his debut. Former Melbourne Rebel, who never got more than kind of a bit part role back in those Super Rugby days many years ago. That club doesn't even exist anymore. Ben Gunter is there at 7, another Aussie-connected player, and Jack Cornelson as well. So it's in theory, kind of high tackling Japan back row. And Eddie Jones did say that given the conditions, it's going to be hot and humid with rain. It's going to be a battle amongst the forwards. So these guys will need to be really abrasive and physical up against a very good French pack. Saito and Ito continue on at 9 and 10. Ito's been doing a lot of kicking. Like a lot of sides have been kicking from 9. Some sides, like the South Africans, have been doing like they're fullback fussy to do the goal kicking, the long kicks last week. But Japan's remaining with Ito, the youngster, as their guy to be pushing the team around the paddock with the boot. Tua and Riley is a slightly changed midfield with Tua coming in, and then the wings is Ueda, Ishida, and Matsunaga. So I feel like they'll be wanting a little bit more punch. In the opening game where they won against the Italians, they kicked well, put the kick recipients under a lot of pressure. They're tackling the Italian guys to the touch and making them bobble high balls. I can't see them moving away from that game if it is indeed going to be wet in particular. But the forwards, as I said, will need to be really hard-working. They've also got Okabe, Sato, and Sword on the bench. Izzy Sword, another Aussie-connected player, as tight head prop replacement, getting his debut from the bench. So congrats to him. Stolberg, Leach, Costly, Tyra Main, and Uenobo on the bench as well. So just 2 backs. He's gone with a 6-2 split, has Eddie, really highlighting the upcoming forward battle for the Japanese guys. Uenobo was on his debut as well. So slightly kind of more experimental for the Japanese up against the French in this one. For the French, they've also made some changes. Fabien Galtier did say that they brought along 7 props and they wanted to basically get them on the field, help them improve and get some cohesion in the team. So a bit of rotation for the French in this one as well. Poirot is back alongside Lamotte and Montagna. So I thought Montagna scrummaged pretty well in the opening game. I was keen to see him get more game time in game 2, but they didn't play him at all. So I'm pleased to see he's back, and I will be very keen to see how he goes at scrum time, given the Japanese scrum, as I said, has been good in the first 2 games. That may sound like a strange thing to say, that I'm looking forward to seeing the Japan-France game for its scrum, but it's definitely effective. Raga and Meafu is a couple of big lumps in the second row, particularly Meafu. He is going to be tipping the scales potentially in France's favour, but as I said, the Japanese locks are also very large. Nushi was incredible last week. He was absolutely all around the paddock with his carries and tackles. He was the Energizer Bunny. Gazzotti likewise was a tackle machine. He switches from 8 to 7, and Ruma is there at number 8. One of my neighbours has taken their bin out because it's rubbish collection day tomorrow. I haven't had one of those on the microphone for about 5 years. So there you go. My neighbour's taken the bin out, if you heard it on camera. Luku and Intermac continue on at 9-10. Luku still captains the side. I should say Ruma is in at number 8 because there is an injury to one of the French players. Who was the guy that played last week? I wrote it down, Giroud. Yeah, Giroud's out injured, so they've had to make a slight change to the back row. But very attacking minded looking 9-10 combo. Intermac looked slick last week on his return. Jelly Bear is the other playmaker at 15. Atisogbe and Grandidier on the wings last week were exceptional. They just got so much ball, so many carries. Like Atisogbe had 2 line breaks, Grandidier had 2 line breaks. Moefana in the midfield was busting tackles. He's still there at 12. He is alongside Brobore, who's got some real wheels at 13. So the back line is unchanged from the team which really cut the Aussies to bits in the second half. Movaka's on the bench. Wardy and Falatea are going to get some game time. Orido standing 4th. And Tisserand. So it's only 2 backs on the bench for the French as well, including Paul Grau, who's going to make his debut. So congrats to him. It's a late call-up on this tour once Dupont got injured. And Gorge, whose name I can never pronounce properly, is there in the 23 jumper as the bit of utility guy. Some stats for you. Japan, they are, despite that initial win, lacking a bit of offensive punch. 2.5 line breaks per game on average, and 11.5 defenders beaten. If you compare that to like the Irish last week alone, 26 defenders beaten against the Japanese. So they are kicking well, they're tackling well, they're not finishing. They're not getting those X-Factor moments. They're scrummaging well, as I said, but yeah, they're not getting the X-Factor to bust the opposition line and convert chances into more points. They have not got themselves a 4-try bonus point just yet. But like I said, the lineout's been good. The scrum's been good. Lineout's like 96% or something. So set piece is solid. They just need to add that little bit of sugar on top, and they will be a much more threatening team. For the French, 10 tries in their 2 games so far, averaging 12 line breaks a game, compared to the Japanese's 2.5. So they're offensively very, very deadly. Even against that All Blacks team, which they lost to, they still cut the All Blacks defense to bits. But they're not winning turnovers, which is interesting. 3 turnovers won in 2 games on this tour is maybe the one element of their game they are lacking. Like, you can imagine if these guys get a turnover, turn defense into attack, they will be even more deadly than they currently are. Recent history between the sides, last 5 results, 4 wins to the French in a row. And then if we go all the way back to 2017, there is 1 draw between the sides. There were not many current players playing in that game, but Dupont was around. He was on the bench for that game. Penaud was starting at centre in that one. Neither of those guys are playing in this one, both injured, unfortunately. They had Kinki Fukuoka on the wing for Japan. Remember him, he was electric in that World Cup. Michael Leach started in that game. He is one of the guys who played in that game who's still playing in this one on the bench. But yeah, it's been a long time. They've been mostly pretty comfortable French wins, with a tightish one in 2022, which was only a 5-pointer, but the most recent one was 52 points to 12 at the Stade de France. The Rugby Forecast algorithm's got France by 24 for this one, so they're pretty comfortable favourites. The bookies are saying by 27. It is on at Tokyo. Hopefully we get a good crowd now that Japan are back in Japan with Japanese conditions. Should make them pretty good value compared to playing at neutral Newcastle last week. Ben O'Keefe, the New Zealander, is the ref. I'm not sure if that benefits either of the sides really, because the majority of the Japanese guys play in the League One, and the majority of the French guys play in the top 14. All of the French guys play in the top 14, so none of them would see Ben O'Keefe in a week-in, week-out basis. But anyway, you guys let us know your thoughts. What do you think is a good result? Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.